Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network. On this edition of the program, Nigerian athletes have kids at the Olympics. Meanwhile, Senegalese team dance Rivers who pass match at the Basketball League in Africa. Super Eagles of Nigeria, a trio, are into the final of the European Cup. Details of these and many more will be yours when we return for a break.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch.
Welcome back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television. This edition, I have with me Kingsley Manuel.
Thank you very much for having me, sir. Very happy to be here this morning.
And with 14 days to the 10th edition of the Okpekpe race in Delta State, a 10-kilometer race in Okpekpe, in the Edo State, organizers of the historic race have said that athletes who break the course, African and world records at the event, will receive a whooping $2,000 US, 5,000 respectively, in addition to several other awards ranging between $15,000 US to 2,000 for the finishers. This is a lot of money for African marathoners.
Yeah, a lot of money for the marathoners down here in Africa, and I think for me it's actually a very good one. We've actually, watched this Okpekpe race, of course, grown to a very huge height, in the space of 10 years, and I think we must give kudos, to the organizers for being able, to maintain and being able to develop and put this race, of course, up to this side. Take a look at the amount of money that athletes down here in Africa will be earning at the end of for the day. For me, I think is a huge one. It's actually welcome development down here in Nigeria, where of course we have a race like the Okpekpe race that is actually been recognized by the World Athletics as well. So it's actually a huge improvement, and I think for me, this is coming as a result of the couple of sponsorship they've been able to get, over time. At least they've been able to up, this the price, the athletes, of course, will be earning due to the level of sponsorship they've gotten. I think for me, we should look forward to have, something like this as well. Maybe in another state. We'll normally hear about the Lagos Marathon. Yes, that's another race that has more weight, down here in Nigeria. And we hear very soon there will be a marathon race in Port Harcourt. But I think
Between Paris following the cutting of ties between the Athletics Federation of Nigeria and, of course, the kid-making giants. Without mentioning name here, we can see that it is not all well with sponsors of the kids or the let's say Team Nigeria at the Olympic Games.
not all well, and I think for me it's a good one that they are actually tackling this at this point in time. Remember what happened in Tokyo? We also had jersey issue where the athletes, of course, actually went to the Tokyo Olympic with different kind of jersey, to represent the country. They were not in the uniform. They were not in any, jersey. Some of them went down there with just, mere shirts, and it was very, very embarrassing, of course, to.
From kids, we understand the Athletic Federation of Nigeria is working with their marketing partners to ensuring that there is no kid discrepancies at the forthcoming Olympic Games. Olympic Games is just a few weeks from now. We understand the Olympic torch, and of course, is already in France, Marseille, France to be specific, and the fever is already there with the theme song, everybody getting to be part of history making. 100 years at the top of the sports is not easy, and France is already waiting to receive visitors ahead of the Olympic Games. And talking about Olympic Games reminds me that some Nigerian athletes have gotten tickets, that's a last-minute tickets to represent, because members of the country's men and women 4x100 meters relay quartet were, of course, electrified by the prospect of competing at the Paris Olympic Games upon punching their respective tickets at the World Relays in Bahamas. Yes, Kisley. And so in Bahamas, over the weekend, we saw Nigerian athletes struggle, and that's a struggle, make frantic efforts at grabbing the available tickets, and the 4x100 meters relay team, male and female, didn't disappoint.
I mean, I think it was a very good one. This time around, it didn't disappoint. Of course, we've seen the setback, over time when it has to do with our relay team, always having an issue of exchange of batting, not getting themselves, on the right, sports, and as well having false starts, most of the time. But this time around, I think they've been able to correct those errors, and they've been able, of course, to put up a very impressive performance, this time. The male team were only they were beaten by the United States of America, of course, which we understand that the United States of America, they're very good when it has to do with the relay race. And the female team as well in the 4x100 meters also did well. And this comprised of the likes of Favor, Philly, Olainka, Olajide, and Tima, God bless. They actually put up...
Justina Yakwa as well in the squad?
Yeah, they also put up a very impressive performance, of course, to be able to get through in this one. I think we should be looking forward to see them at the Paris Olympic, also putting up this impressive feats going forward.
Talking about the timing return at the Bahamas, 42.71 seconds to qualify for the Olympic Games in Paris is worth cheering from the Nigerian 4x100 meters relay quartet female, especially. This is the last time we were at the Olympic Games with this team was 16 years ago. So it's
of younger them as well will also be in the midst of this particular one. So Fatima, I think she's done so well for herself since 2022, but her best has not really been that sparkling. But we hope at this particular qualifying tournament she'll be able to, of course, be on her toes and see how to grab the ticket, to the Paris Olympic game. I really want to see the table tennis team, of course, go down to the Paris Olympic game and put up a very impressive performance. They've not been fantastic over time now. We saw what happened at the African Games in Ghana. They were nowhere, of course, to be found. They actually had an abysmal performance. But we hope that this particular qualifying tournament will help them, of course, to improve in their performance. The likes of Aruna, he's been consistent over time. Off Younger them has not been the best as well. But for Fatimo, I think she's trying to most kind to step up her game a bit. I'll look forward to see what she'll be able to put up down there in this particular tournament.
We want to see Nigerian table tennis players at the biggest stage, and that's the Olympic Games. Them, of course, we talked about the others as well who are seeking grabbing the qualifying tickets from the African tourney. Let's hope that they will do just that. Them, she really has to assert herself. This looks like a swan song tournament for her.
Yeah, she really have to put up a very impressive performance this time around. She's not been in the limelight over time now.
Yeah.
And from what we've seen at this point in time, I think it's an opportunity for her to be able to step up her game and then, prove herself, once more. It's been a long time, we'll see her, putting up a very impressive performance. And we hope that, with the help. And
we hope the male team as well will do their best, because we need to see our best. And if you talk about Nigerian table tennis, both male and female, they are at the twilight of their career, and it would be so nice if they get at least the ticket to the Olympic Games, and of course, go home on a high after participating at the Olympic Games. Better luck to Team Nigeria as they secure available tickets to the Paris Olympic Games. From the Olympics qualifiers, let's quickly now look at tennis and talk about tennis. Reminds me that 1,000 points is at stake in Rome. And Igaswatek, world #1 in female tennis, golf, of course, Naomi Osaka have all made it through to the last round of 32 at the Italian Open in Rome. What are the prospects for the world #1 for this one? She took out, of course, remember, only at the Madrid Open, and she's coming very confident to Rome.
I think Igaswatek has really stepped up her game. She's really improved, especially in our last 2 or 3 tournaments, we've seen. She's really improved in her performance, and these are on the hunt, of course, for her to maintain her world #1 spot. I think she's really done well over time. She's been on that world #1 spot for quite a long time now, and everyone is still expecting her to go all the way and making sure that she maintained that one on the floor a very long time. She was able to take out American Bernarda Pera on a 6-love, 6-2 victory, straight set win, for her. And that's to tell you that, she is very, very optimistic of something. I think this is going to be the third time she'll be going for this particular Italian Open. And for me, I think it's something huge for her. And not forgetting the likes of Naomi Osaka, who actually made a return, after not having a very good time since she gave birth, to a baby. But this time around, she's been able to put up a very impressive performance. It's been a long time we see her beating a top 20 player, but this time she came up and she's been able to. She won her first game, and this is her second encounter, and she'll be able to go through. Maybe we'll start looking forward to see a rejuvenated Naomi Osaka this one. Coco Gauff not also left out. We saw how she was being ousted out, in the Madrid Open, but I think she will be able to, go far in this one after also putting up a very impressive performance to get to the round of 32. Let's see how it goes, for these big name players.
Big name players searching for 1,000 points, and of course some mega box as well to go home with just before next Grand Slam in tennis. So we wish them the best of luck. But not just the females are in Rome, we have the male as well in Rome. Rafa Nadal is one name that continues to look at getting the very best that is remaining in tennis for him, because we know how he's had injury concerns, pull out of major tournaments, but he's fighting on at the Italian Open.
Yeah, really fighting on at the Italian Open, was able to beat a qualifier. Talking about Zizon Beggs, you will see probably might be an easy ride, for him. Looking at the fact that Beggs not that very much, experience, especially when it has to do with this tournament, than Rafa Nadal at this point in time. The man is still finding his mojo, still trying, of course, to get himself acclimatized, to the courts and put himself right ahead of the big one. Talking about the French Open, and for me, it's really been a huge, resuscitation, for him, and not letting injury, of course, weigh him down or whatever might be the situation at the moment. Though he said this might be his last, season, but I think the man is still looking very much optimistic of getting something huge. It was a good victory for him. It ended in a 6-3, 6-4 for Rafa Nadal, and we hope, of course, to see him, of course, continue in this impressive ride going forward.
2024 has been embarked as the year where he will retire from tennis, and preparatory ground for the major Grand Slam. And you think after the Grand Slams of the year, he will just call it quits? But from the way he's playing, do you think he's maybe 90% fit?
No, not really. No, not really 90% fit, because the man is even not 100% sure in terms of even participating in most of the tournament that will be coming. He said, according to him, in his last interview, he said if he will be fit enough that he's going to participate. But I think he will really participate in the major Grand Slam, as it is, because he wants to use it, of course, to wrap things up, for himself, this season, as it is. But talking about, 90% fit or 100% fit, I'm not really seeing Rafa Nadal to be that fit, because he's just coming back, from injury, and trying to put himself, in shape ahead of the big one. Now, you take a look at the competition at the moment in the ATP, it's really, really getting tough, at this point in time. Djokovic is back, still trying, of course, to put himself, in order after, splitting with his coach, and he's in this Italian Open as well. He didn't play at the Madrid Open due to reasons, of course, best known to him. When he was asked, he didn't disclose that. Maybe to get himself right and also to put himself together. We hear he's actually, changing his backroom staff. He split with his coach, and also change his physio as well. So the man is also getting ready. You can't forget the likes of Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner. Rublev just won the Madrid Open. These are players that are very much optimistic in getting something huge. So it's really going to be a tight one for Rafael Nadal, except we might see an extraordinary performance, from him when you talk about fitness. So let's just see how it goes. For me, I think you should just take the game one after the other and see how it goes.
The Rome Masters heating up the world of tennis. Big name players involved, and we'll just see how it all pans out at the end of hostilities at the games. Like we mentioned, 1,000 points is at stake, and of course, ranking is determined by the points you garner in the course of the tennis year. Now, let's quickly go to boxing. And in boxing, Deontay Wilder's long-standing trainer, Malik Scott, claims the bronze bomber will agree to fight Anthony Joshua at the Wembley Stadium in London. Will this fight see the light of the day? Talking about Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, I think as this don't worry at this
Don't
point.
worry,
Yes,
right.
talking at this point, trainer, talking tough. The man has not been on the best of form. He was actually being taken out last time by Joseph Parker, and since then he's been trying to find his foot. When in the ring, the man has not been in very good shape. We saw how he was actually being dismantled by Tyson Fury. Joseph Parker came, actually hit him up as well, and now he's maybe looking forward to bring himself back to the limelight by trying to stage a fight with Anthony Joshua, who is also reviving, his career as well. That will be the first fight, for him. Can probably fight any of the boxers. So for me, it's really not really that clear if we'll see this fight, come, to limelight or come to reality, because I'm not really seeing Joshua, wanting to fight the Deontay Wilder at this point in time. Deontay Wilder has no much, pedigree at this point in time. He's been defeated on several occasions, and I think you should just look for how to revive, his career, and maybe look forward to see how to stage a very big fight for him in the coming years, not, at the moment.
We're talking about Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua's fight coming up in Wembley in London. But at this time, like Kingsley did allude there, Anthony Joshua should be looking at fighting the bigger fight and not one which he should have taken care of. Yes, there's some money involved, but I think his eye should be on the Tyson Fury, fight, and not that, I understand too, has been fixed for Saudi Arabia. Will it see the light of the day?
Definitely, we'll see the light of the day. The fight is actually very close. I think on the 18th of this month, we'll actually see that particular one really getting close. Both boxers, preparing. It's going to be a very huge one. And Tyson Fury, of course, he should be wary. He should actually look forward to see how to take that Alexander Usyk. We saw what Usyk did to Joshua, back-to-back defeats. He actually gave to Joshua down there. And for Usyk, who has not been fantastic. For me, Usyk has not been that. He has not been on his A game. We saw how the punch, from Francis Ngannou actually took him out in the last bout. He actually fought. So I think for me, against Alexander Usyk, he should be very, very careful, or else his record, his undefeated record, might be dented. But let's keep our fingers crossed and see what happens in Saudi Arabia.
Exactly, that's it. Our fingers are crossed. I'm looking forward to the fight in the next few days in Saudi Arabia, the new mecca of sports, if you allow me to use that word. Let's go to basketball, and quickly in basketball, it's not cheering news for Nigeria and Rivers State to specific. Rivers Hoopers lost their first game, at the basketball league ongoing in Dakar, Senegal. Having won the first 3 games, they needed to just win AS Douanes, the home side, in their second game, in game 2, and qualify for the playoff in Kigali, Rwanda. But that effort to go to Kigali has been slowed down by the 77 to 88 they loss at the basketball league last night.
For me, I think it was a very cagey encounter. The home side really came prepared in that encounter, where you take a look at how it actually went down. Rivers Super lost woefully in the first quarter of that one. It ended 14 to 5 in that one in favor of the AS Douanes side. Second quarter, Rivers Supers were able to step up their game, ended 21 to 19. In the third quarter as well, they let down themselves they actually got this third quarter 15 to 7, and were able, to round up the game in a 54 to 56, score in favor of the AS Douanes side. Was a very, very, cagey one. Just 2-point difference, in that encounter. And most of the
They waited too late to come back.
Yes. Most of the players, River Supers players, of course, didn't get the best of time. Perry, who has always been putting up to 30 points, I think he was able to amass 17 points, yesterday. It was not a very good day as well for the likes of Divine AK, who actually got about 2 points, so low, in that encounter. And Kevin Amayo was able to amass, 11 points in that game. I think it was a very cagey one.
They've beaten this AS Douanes in the first game.
They beat them in the first game. But the AS Douanes side, they got themselves, prepared this time around. And, they are the home side. And the fans also give them that huge support on that very day. And that's why, we saw the game actually being very, very cagey for Rivers Supers. But still one more game for Rivers Supers, and they will be able to, of course, get themselves cemented in that playoff zone. I don't think that will be a very difficult task for them to handle.
Before that game last night, Rivers Supers had 2 avenues, or do I say 2 route to entry into the playoff in Kigali. sorry, into the first playoff in Kigali. But it looked like they didn't take any of the chances, or none of the chances were clean for them. They had a chance to win, AS Duane home side and qualify straight for the finals in Kigali, or the second option was APR lose their encounter to US Monastir of Tunisia, and both doors were closed. APRO incidentally lost.
Yeah, they lost.
Lost to US Monastir. So all we did, Rivers Badine was a win by US Monastir over APRO, and they will just qualify even without winning their own game. But now, both sides didn't work out for River Supers. They really have to work hard to move to Kigali in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, they really have to work hard. The next game will be on Saturday against APRO of Rwanda, and they really have to step up their game at this point in time. Though if you take a look at the standing at the table, they are still first in that table. APRO are second in that group, and that should be most win for River Supers if they really want to cement their place in the playoff. APRO are second, AS Duane are third. Despite the victory, of course, yesterday for US Monastir, they still remain, fourth on the log at this point in time. So it should be a must win for River Supers on Saturday, which is tomorrow, against APRO of Rwanda, or else it might be a difficult road for them in getting to the playoff, at this point in time. And from what we've seen at this point, we look forward to see how, of course, it will go. US Monastir side also looking forward to bounce back after having a very impressive victory against APR. 83-70 was a very huge, margin down there, and look forward to see how it goes. River Supers really have to step up their game. I think the players really have to find back their mojo. They have to go back to the drawing board and see what they were able to do in the last 3 games they played unbeaten. And of course, I look forward to bounce back, strongly against APR of Rwanda, or else it might be a very tight road for them getting to the playoff.
Well, very tight road, but we hope they can just do their magic and win the next game and go straight to the finals in Kigali. Talking about basketball league in Africa, River Supers representing so well, and they just have to finish the job of qualifying for the finals, and thereafter anything can happen. That's been their mission, their target. This according to the opinion of Coach Udaldo, which is with the team out there in Dakar, Senegal. Talking about basketball reminds me that there is semi-final actions in the NBA, and we've seen interesting fixture in the West. It's now 1-1. It's now tied 1-1. Kingsley, what do you expect there? Oklahoma City Thunders incidentally lost in the early hours of this morning, 110-119 from Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks from Dallas showed up after all, haven't lost the first game.
That's actually an impressive one, of course, from the Dallas Mavericks side. We knew, of course, they were going to come back in game 2, because when you take a look at the first encounter, they were almost there. And this time around, they have to step up their game to see how they can come up, strongly against the Oklahoma City Thunder side. Was really an impressive encounter for them, especially their key man, Luka Doncic, coming up, into the party as well for them, putting up about 29 points in that game. He wasn't only the one with 29 points or with double figures as well. The likes of Washington also got 29 points for Dallas Mavericks on the day. And for me, it was a very good outing for them, 119-110.
This is the first time the Oklahoma City Thunders are losing in the postseason.
I think for me, yes, the Thunders, they did their best, as it stands. But I think the brilliance from the likes of Jokic, Washington, and the rest of the Dallas Mavericks players, of course, they were that very fantastic, on the day. And that's why they were able, of course, to take the Oklahoma City Thunder side, down in that particular one. But more to play. We still have about 5 games, in this particular one. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder still have a chance to prove themselves in this one.
Semi-final fixtures, best of 7 games, and right now it is tied in the Western Conference between the Oklahoma City Thunders and, of course, what do you call it now? Dallas Mavericks. They have shown their quality.
Great points against the Cavaliers in this particular one. Really strange. I think for me, they didn't really live up to expectation in this one. The likes of Jaylen Brown, which everyone thought, of course, would have put up a very impressive performance on the day he didn't come to the party. He had about 25 points. And of course, you expect Jalen Brown to be able to put up more than 25 points in that game, and the likes of Jason Tatum as well, Drew Holiday. These are players who all expected to have come to the party for Boston Celtic, but we didn't see more from them at this time around. So sad, taking a look at the score line, 118 to 94. I don't think a team like the Boston Celtic, they actually qualified to the semi-final very well, who actually lost in this particular match. But kudos to the Cleveland Cavaliers, for being able to bounce back, making it 1-1 at this point in time. I think the game is now tied now, but we're looking forward to see what happened in Game 3. And for the Cavaliers, I think they have some couple of players who actually put up a very impressive performance. Donovan Mitchell, who also was very fantastic in the first game, came up with about 29 points as well for them, and I think that really helped them, of course, to be able to amass the points they got in this particular one. Let's see how it goes in Game 3.
Game 3 is the ultimate. Right now, we'll see who will separate themselves in this one. It's the semi-final series of the NBA, and it's the best of 7. Right now in the East, it is tied at 1-1. In the West, it is tied at 1-1. Let's see what Game 3 will bring forth in the next few hours. Time for us to take a break. When we return, we'll go to football, and talking about football reminds us that 3 Nigerians are into the final of European competitions for 2024. We'll let you know them.
Telling him not to counterpunch. Telling him not to counterpunch.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human
on the point of order.
Honorable
On the point of
on them. They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
back. It's Sports Talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and we are the second half of the program, and we're into football. Earlier, we told you how River Supers lost in basketball yesterday, but still have a chance of qualifying for the finals of action ongoing at the Basketball League in Africa. Meanwhile, in football, Rivers United, yes, the football team of the River State has played a goalless draw with Kwara United at the Lorry Stadium yesterday, and that match has, reverberated some kind of talk, because we understand Ivan Sugi was the head coach, of that match, and the trace of Stanley Guma wasn't seen aftermath of losing the other encounter just before going to Ilori. Kingsley, what's going on with Rivers United? A lot of rumors going around, but no official confirmation on the status of Stanley Guma.
I think for me, it's been a very sad one. They have 5 outstanding games to play, and out of that 5 outstanding, they've played 2. They lost to Remo Stars on Monday, and now sharing points, of course, with Kwara United.
That loss to Remo Stars looks like the albatross, or do I say the bridge too high to climb for Stanley Guma?
Yeah, too high, at this point in time, because everyone was thinking, you having 5 outstanding games, you just start picking points, from those 5, picking all 3 points from the 5 outstanding game, but 2 gone, and you've lost 1 and you've drawn 1. What's the possibility of winning the next game? And most of these games are away games, as it stays. So getting points away from home, you know how difficult it is in the Nigerian Premier Football League. So really a sad moment, and as it stands now, they are also in that relegation zone, though they're 11th on the log. But when you take a look at the point difference between Rivers United and the team on the relegation zone, not that far at this point in time. So the fans actually thought, coming back to the Nigerian Premier Football League after not having a very good outing, in the CAF Confederation Cup, though they tried to get to the quarterfinal once again, but being ousted out, they were everyone was thinking they were going to come back and put themselves right and start picking points down here in the Nigerian Premier Football League. But it's been a sad one at this point in time, and from what we're getting, the coach of the side, Stanley Guma, who has been one of the long-serving manager down here in the Nigerian Premier Football League, he might be leaving his position if, of course, all things are in place, from what we're getting at this point in time. So it's really a very tough time for Rivers United, and we hope all of this, controversy will really put them down the lane.
Fingers crossed, and we'll keep you posted on what's the latest development about the status of Stanley Guma with Rivers United. Meanwhile, they still have 1 game to play, and this one is coming up in Akure. It's another rescheduled game between Rivers United and the Sunshine Stars of Akure.
It's going to be a very tight one. Another away game for Rivers United. They just played the game yesterday, and now they will be traveling for this weekend game in Akure. Of course, you won't expect the players to give you all the best. From here to Akure, a little bit of a distance as well. From Kwara State, they'll be leaving from Kwara State now to Akure. That's a little bit of a distance, for the players. And at this point in time, you would definitely expect fatigue, to play. And I believe the reason why we're seeing this poor result as well is as a result of fatigue, because when you line up games like this, for the players, sometimes it becomes difficult for them to deliver. So I think for me, the way things have not actually gone so far for them has been very abysmal. We also fought, the league body for not putting the calendar in place, and as well, the management of Rivers United as well being unable at some point to put this. Take a look at what is happening at the moment. Stanley Guma being on and off, in the team. It's not a very good, news at the moment. So getting to Akure, for me, it will be another huge, tax for them, or trying to beat Sunshine Stars that's been handled by Kennedy Beboye at this point in time will be a very tough one for Rivers United to handle at this point in time, because I think the players would not be 100% fit. Traveling from Kwara now to Akure will be a huge one for them, and for me, I don't think they'll be very fit, for that particular encounter this weekend.
Well, wish them the very best of luck, and hope that at least they can win at least 3 points of the available 15. Excuse me, available 15 at the tournament. Meanwhile, let's quickly see the latest coming from the NFF and Finidi George request to appointing assistant coaches for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Kesley, everybody thought Finidi George would name his assistant coaches this week, but the week is run out, and Finidi George says very soon. There has been rumor about him getting foreign assistants, and as usual, they will say funds will hamper the choice of foreign assistant for Finidi George.
Funds definitely will hamper the for them of the NFF getting the foreign assistant. We hear they contacted Michael Insien, who is the under-19 coach of the United American team, and the contract they actually tabled down for him was not good enough. The man has 2 years contract with the under-19 side of the United States of America, and they want to pay him, per game. So whichever game, of course, he comes to, help the Super Eagles to play, they will actually pay him for that. And the man said he was not actually good, with that particular, contract, and he actually rejected it. Everyone thought Finidi would be going for the likes of Emmanuel Amunike, but from what we're seeing, I think that there's a bad blood running now, between them. Emmanuel Amunike, of course, was not happy with the way things actually went about when it has to do with the appointments of the Super Eagles coach. But we'll just look forward to see what comes up. But getting a foreign assistant, that would be a load, for the NFF or the sport ministry, to fund at this point in time. But let's see how it goes. We hope, of course, he'll be able to get the best of, an assistant coach for himself.
Tricky days ahead. Finidi George expected to name his assistant or his backroom staff, and they are very key to the success of the Super Eagles. Don't forget, the race to get ticket for 2026 World Cup is on, and Nigeria right now is placed third in our group with the must-win encounter coming up, in weeks at the Godswill Akpabio Stadium in Uyo. Let's bring you some one major story coming in from the continent of Africa just before we go to Europe, where 3 Nigerians have qualified for the Europa League finals, and that has to do with Cameroon now having signed, the FA chairman of Cameroon haven't signed the contract of their new coach, Mark Brens, after a lot of forth and back arguments about to who has the right to employ a coach. Samuel Eto'o Fields, Fegafoot chairman, now has signed the contract of Mark Brens that was appointed by the president of the country.
Yes, a good one for them. At this point in time, they've come to a resolution. I think Eto'o was not happy with the man was actually being appointed. You don't, is the job, the appointment, is it supposed to be done by the sport ministry down there in Cameroon or the federation?
We understand the president of the country, was very interested in the appointment of Mark, and of course, did direct the president, the sports minister to consummate it. But and Eto'o Fields felt very angry about it, that he had the right to, or the Fegafoot had the right, which is correct. But this is Africa. At the end of the day, he has reluctantly signed the contract of the coach. Let's hope that the coach will mend his ways with the president of the Football Federation in Ghana, Samuel Eto'o Fields, one man who knows it all when it comes to, top-level politics here in Africa, and of course, level of play in football as well. Let's now go to Europe because we're running out of time. And in Europe, the Europa League finalists have been decided. Kingsley, is this good for Nigeria after all? Because we know that in one of the matches played last night, there was some interesting development. Atalanta beat the opponent 3-0, talking about Olympique Marseille of France. And for Atalanta, Nigerians feature on this squad list.
Yeah, definitely. Demola Lookman, was instrumental for that success for Atalanta, and taking them, of course, to the finals of the competition. I think for me, it's a very huge one as well for Atalanta.
Aggregate score 4-1. Remember, it was 1-1 in the first encounter.
Yeah.
Then Atalanta went back to Italy to consummate 3-0 after 90 minutes plus other time.
It was a very huge victory for them, and I think for me, it's a very good one at this point in time. For them, we hope that they will be able to contend with the high-flying Bayer Leverkusen side on the final, which we know, of course, they're also very fantastic as well. I think about 49 games unbeaten, for them, on the road now, and a lot of persons are even thinking that they might end the season unbeaten. We also have some Nigerians down there in the Bayer Leverkusen side, the likes of Victor Boniface, Nathan Tella as well. These are Nigerians as well in that particular side. So it's going to be all Nigeria affair in the Europa League, final as it is, and we're looking forward to see who will get this one. Will it be Ademola Lookman, who has been very fantastic as well since the African Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire for Team Nigeria, and also not relenting still putting up that impressive performance for his club side, Atalanta, down there in Italy. It's going to be an impressive, Europa League final.
Very impressive Europa League final coming up, and 3 Nigerians expected to be on a showcase aftermath of results of last night. We hope that it will turn out well. Bayern Leverkusen with a Nigerian, and of course Atalanta as well with another set of Nigerian. 3 to be specific. Nigerian players will be in that final, bearing any injury concern. It wasn't only Europa League final results that were determined last night. We had the finalists as well determined in the Europa Conference League. Kingsley, last of the team remaining from England, well, just a British team, was sent packing last night. Aston Villa sent packing last night. Olympiacos of Greece did the trick.
Yeah, it was really a abysmal performance, from Aston Villa. They lost, by 4 goals to 2 in the first game, and came back, and lost, 2-0. This is a very abysmal performance, for them in the European stage. They've actually gotten a very impressive performance so far in the league, in the Premier League. In fact, they are fighting for the top 4 position as it is. So, but it was really an abysmal one, seeing the way they were being hosted out, by.
Aggregate scoreline of 6 goals to 2.
Very, very embarrassing, for an English side. Talking about Aston Villa. But for me, I think we should coach, especially the coach of the side, Unai Emery, some slack. This is his 4th season, and he's been able to put up a very huge challenge for himself, even fighting for the top 4. With an Aston Villa side that we know that they don't really have, huge players or big name players, you see at this point in time. But let's see how it goes for them. They will be facing Fiorentina, another Italian side as well, in the final of for the Conference League, and we'll look forward to see how this particular one goes. It's been a very long time we've seen, Olympiacos, of course, in the final of the competition, making it down this time. I think they'll be looking forward to see how they can get this one done and dusted.
What does it mean to have 2 Italian sides in the Europa Conference League final, and of course having German side, all the way into the final of the UEFA Champions League as well? We talked about it here the other day that the German teams having a finalist in this year's UEFA Champions League have now gotten the opportunity of listing or enrolling 6 teams in the UEFA Champions League for next season, courtesy of the increased number of teams that will be going to the UEFA Champions League. The gain of the German teams is the loss of English teams in the UEFA Champions League, and now there have been impressive gains as well by Italian teams at the Europa Conference level.
Yeah, impressive performance, you would say. Atalanta in the Europa League final, Fiorentina in the Conference League final. Impressive one, you would say. Though in the Champions League, you would say was really an abysmal one. Inter Milan didn't go far. Napoli as well didn't also go far in the Champions League. But in the European Conference League, we've seen them on step.
To the teams that have already emerged for the finals, and look forward to the next few days when this encounter will come up. In fact, Wembley Stadium is the venue, and it will be sad that no English team will be at that final, and we'll have some kind of celebration coming either from, the Spanish fans or the German fans. Meanwhile, we have to begin to wrap up the show, and Arsenal is in the news. They prepare for next season with the signing of a new contract with Johio, the man that came from Chelsea only a few months ago. He has now been given a new deal. You think his performances so far has been instrumental to Mikel Arteta giving a new contract to Johio of Arsenal?
Hasn't done that bad, though we don't see him frequently, in games.
But he's played as many as 35 times this season?
35 times, and from what we've seen so far, I think when you take a look at the Arsenal team, no matter how good they are, they still need those experienced players, and Jorginho is one of them. 32 years of age. We saw what he did at Chelsea Football Club, and coming down, to Arsenal as well. It has not been that rosy, but I think the man has actually gotten a very impressive time so far. So handing him 1-year contracts, I think for me is a good one. Arsenal still need those experienced players, of course, in their midst, no matter how good the young boys, are at the moment. And for me, I think it's a good one. 1-year contracts, you will see, for Jorginho at this point in time is still good. Looking at the fact that they are hunting for the English Premier League title, they've also qualified for the Champions League as well come next season. I think for me it's a very good one for Arsenal Football Club, and you must give Mikel Arteta kudos for being able to build a very, very good team for himself at Arsenal Football Club. And I'm looking forward to see what Jorginho will be bringing to the team.